All right, what's up, everybody? So gonna make breakfast. I need to clean the stovetop. Let me, 1 second. So it's like 10:30. And I had clients this morning. I have like early, what I call like early days and late days. I still have to get up early regardless, but an early day, I'm usually getting up around 4 to 4:15 so that I can go meet my first client at 5 a.m. And then on my later days, I have a client, my first client is at 7:30. So my early days, I train from like 5 a.m. to 10:30. And then on my late days, I train 7:30 to 10:30. So on my early days, I always pack food with me and take it. And then on my late days, I get to sleep in a little bit. So I don't worry about eating breakfast. I just have coffee and water while I'm there. And then I come back to the house and make my breakfast. So this is a late day for me. I haven't had any calories. So gonna have a relatively big breakfast. I always do eggs if I have the time. I grew up eating eggs. I love eggs. You can add vegetables. You can add, you can make an omelet. You can do a scramble, add some meat to it. There's, multiple ways to keep it exciting. I know some people say they get tired of eating eggs, but I always try to make it to where, I switch it up. Today is a day that I unfortunately don't have a ton to work with. So I have leftover sweet potato, and I'll talk a little bit about this as I go. But cooking in bulk is huge because when you cook in bulk, it allows you to have consistency, but saves you time, and it gives you options. It allows you to have options. So last night I made more sweet potato than I needed so that at breakfast I can have sweet potatoes. So gonna have an egg omelet, a yogurt, because I want some fat, but not too much, and I still gotta get about 40 to 50 grams of protein. And to do that with eggs, you have to eat so many of them. So I'm gonna do 4 whole eggs, 1 Greek yogurt, some sweet potato, and then a bunch of fruit. And typically the only thing that I would change about this is I would add spinach to the eggs. I just don't have spinach today, so no spinach with my omelet. But I'm gonna show you like a quick edit or whatever of me making the omelet. So that is what you will see here, and I'll show you some shots. I'll show you some clips as I cook, as I make it. Trying to video and crack eggs is a challenge. Got a egg white or a shell in there. I am not against egg whites. However, if I'm going to eat egg whites, God, this is impossible. I'm gonna do this though, I'm committed. If I'm gonna eat egg whites, I'm going to have, I'm just gonna buy egg whites. I'm not gonna waste a whole egg to get the white. I'm just gonna eat the yolk with it. So I do egg whites sometimes, but most of the time I am just gonna eat the yolks. I'm out of eggs now. Also, there's freaking wasted half the yolk, damn it. All right, so for my fruit, I'm gonna do, I'm having the omelet, I'm gonna do some fruit with it. I'm gonna have raspberries and blueberries, and I'm gonna weigh that out on my scale, and I'll show you how I do that, weighing it out so that I know how many grams of carbs I'm getting from the fruit. For the eggs, I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then I'm gonna give that my cooking and videoing simultaneously. Give that a good stir. Yep. All right, so now I'm gonna weigh out my sweet potato, and I'll show you how I do that. But so in terms of counting calories, counting macros, check out the nutrition label. check out the nutrition label. The sweet potatoes that I'm having, one serving is 130 grams. 130 grams is 25 grams of carbohydrate. So I want about 50 grams of carbs from the sweet potato because I'm going to get about the same from the fruit. So you zero out your scale, and I'll show you here. I'm going to flip the camera around. Flip it around. I'm pulling this straight from, just heating it up in the pan. You won't be able to see the amount. Maybe we can. There we go. It's so that's 67. Remember, I want 130 grams for a serving. That's 109. That is 133, so that's about one serving. Just some extra there. So 2 servings would be 260 grams. We'll see how close we come to that. It's about 245, so that's close. It's pretty close. So that's about 50 grams of. It's about 50 grams of carbohydrates. About 50 grams of carbohydrates from the sweet potato. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the fruit. So I have my fruit. Let's see if I can get this open. All right, so scale is at 0. I'm going to dump in my raspberries. Raspberries is going to be 166 grams. 166 grams total. And I want the same, about the same, with my blueberries. So 1 second. All right, we're going to zero it out. Good. So 160. That's about 90. 150, a few more. 160, perfect. It's about 170, but perfect. All right, so now what I'll do, get the camera flipped around again. There we go. So now what I'll do, so I know I weighed out my sweet potato. I already know the macros on that because I could see it on the nutrition label. So I know that I got 50 grams of carbohydrates from the sweet potato. And typically I would have my phone. Where's my phone? Right here. So I'm going to go in and track this stuff. So I got 50 grams of carbs from the sweet potato. I have 166 grams from the raspberries. I have 170 grams from the blueberries. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get everything on the dinner table, and then we'll go over the total calories and total macros of my breakfast. All right, so this is going to be breakfast. I have my eggs and my sweet potato. I have 1 Greek yogurt. See if it's the ratio, 25 grams of protein. And then I have my big bowl of fruit. All right, you guys, so I just showed you what I'm having for breakfast, and now I'm going to show you how I add up those calories. So we know, or I know, you can look at the nutrition label on the eggs, but they have 6 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat in 1 egg. So having 4 of them, simple math, 24 grams of protein and 20 grams of fat. That takes care of my eggs. I added up, I weighed out my sweet potato. I know I'm getting 50 grams of carbs from my sweet potato. No protein, no fat there. So add that in. The yogurt, the nutrition label is on the back here. I'm getting 25 grams of protein from the yogurt. I'm getting 9 grams of carbs from the yogurt, and then 3.5 grams of fat. So we'll just round up and say 4. That takes care of the yogurt. And now I'm going to go into my FitnessPal and search blueberries and raspberries to get my calories from or for my fruit. So I'm going to search raspberries. Raspberries pops up with the green arrow. That's when you know it's like confirmed or whatever you call that with the green check mark. Verified. Verified. My brain sometimes, man. So when you know it's verified, so you can kind of trust. You can trust it more if there's a green check mark versus not. So I changed my serving size to 1 gram, and remember I got 166 grams from raspberries, which means scroll till I hit 166. I'm getting 20 grams of carbs from my raspberries. And then I had 170 of blueberries. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna search blueberries, change it to 1 gram, scroll to 170, and it says that I'm getting 25 grams of carbohydrates from blueberries. So 45 grams of carbs from my fruit in total, which brings the final macros of this meal, and I'll put it here in one of the corners. I still gotta add it up. Final macros are gonna be 49 grams of protein. It's going to be 104 grams of carbohydrate, and then 24 grams of fat, which I'll show you on the screen how many calories that comes out to. I guess I could do the math real quick. So 828 calories for breakfast today. Got a good amount of protein, some healthy carbs, some healthy fats. There's 4 calories in 1 gram of carb. There's 9 calories in 1 gram of fat. So really when you're counting macros, you're just multiplying. You're just multiplying those numbers, 4 and 9, depending on what macro you're doing the math with, but 4 calories for protein and carb, 9 for fat. You're just multiplying to find how many calories you got. So, you know, should I count calories? Should I track macros? It's really it's all the same.
Same, but different, but still same.
It's just whether you want to divide or multiply. I've always counted macros. I think that's the easiest way, especially with my MyFitnessPal. So yeah, this is a typical breakfast for me. High protein, high carb, lower to moderate fat. I've got to go do some work after this. I'm gonna have breakfast, I'm gonna go to the coffee shop, I'm gonna have a cappuccino, I'm gonna get some work done, and I'll come back to the house and make my lunch. It's gonna be a quick lunch today, and I will check in with you then to show you what I'm having for lunch. All right, what's up guys? So I am back at the house. I've got the dishwasher going, so sorry if you can hear that in the background. Also got the dryer going, so just a day to get household stuff done, but having lunch. So I worked at the coffee shop a lot longer than I thought I would, and I did a lot of volume. So today's Wednesday. I did a lot of volume Monday and Tuesday, high intensity. So I'm actually gonna take a rest day and want to talk to you a little bit about why. So tomorrow is an early day for me, as I was saying previously, in terms of getting up, like at what time, 4 a.m. versus 6:30. I have to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, which means I might not get as much sleep tonight, and it's like almost 4, it's like 3:40 right now, so I'm even eating a later lunch. So knowing that I'm gonna have to get up early tomorrow and it's already a little bit late, I'm not gonna rush to the gym and try to get a workout in. I feel a little tired as is, so this is where I coach listening to your body is very important. I know myself well enough, I've been doing this long enough to know that, yeah, I could go to the gym and push through a workout, but odds are what's going to end up happening is I'm going to, one, go to the gym late, hit that workout. It's going to ramp up my system, so I'm going to have a harder time getting to sleep tonight. And it's going to make me getting in my calories a lot harder because I'm taking that, hour and a half, 2 hours to go to the gym where I could be eating, which is what I'm fixing to do, and just resting, doing mobility, prepping for tomorrow, and then have, get a better night's sleep and have better energy tomorrow to hit a session. So just going to take a rest day, focus on recovery, focus on getting in quality food, and get a good night's sleep. So always listen to your body. I coach listening to your body. You also have to be pushing yourself hard enough to listen to your body. So, you've got to know where to draw that line. And all right, do I really need a rest day, or is this just me being lazy? And again, as you do this, the longer you do this, the better that process becomes. You refine that process over time and what that looks like for you as an individual. But I've got my lunch already made right here, and I'll post the macros in the corner, but I'm gonna flip the camera around now. I have a turkey and cheese bagel sandwich. I have some chips and some grapes. So chips obviously are not the best option, but I do weigh them out. So just like any other food item, I weighed my grapes there. I got about 30 grams of carbs worth of grapes. Just like anything else, I'm gonna weigh my chips, and that is where like balance comes in. You know, people will say like, oh well, all right, so chips on the plate, this is where balance comes in. I actually weighed those chips, so I know I'm getting 17 grams of carbs and 8 grams of fat from those chips. That's where a lot of people fail in terms of the balance aspect. They don't know how much they're getting. They just go in on a bag of chips, and before they know it, they've ate half of it, and they have no idea how many calories they got from that. And that stuff stacks up over the day. So if you are gonna have stuff like that, be mindful of your portion control. Be mindful of how many servings you're getting. If you are, you can absolutely fit those into a healthy, balanced diet. But this is what I'm gonna have for lunch. And I'm gonna get back to, I've got a little bit more work to do, so I'm gonna get back to that. But then I'll check back in with you when it is time for dinner. All right, what's up everybody? So in my room, about to have my dinner, and just gonna show you what that is real quick. So I've got chicken, rice, and vegetables. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you. I'll put the macros in one of the corners here, but this is my dinner. So I've got chicken thighs. Try to get the, see if I can get to the lighting. Chicken thighs, maybe if I move it over to the light. I got chicken thighs, rice, and some veggies. And I'm also gonna have a mini Coke Zero, bunch of water. So that's gonna be my dinner. Pretty normal, so everything that you've seen that I've had today, it's a pretty normal day of eating for me. I usually have a relatively big breakfast, lunch, and dinner, somewhere around like 800 to 1,000 calories. And then the variance in my diet is between training days and rest days is really carbohydrates. On rest days, I don't allow myself to have all those fast-acting carbs that I have around my training, typically like the applesauces, the liquid carbohydrates, the honey with banana. All those things I exclude on days that I rest because my body just doesn't need it. I'm gonna get the calories I need from whole foods and protein shake. So protein shake, I also would have that around my training. I'll have that most of the time. I would just have it in the middle of the day, but tonight I'm gonna have it in the form of a smoothie before I go to bed. So I'll knock out my dinner here, finish up a little bit of work, and then I'm going to watch You. So I'm watching You on Netflix right now. It's one of my favorite series. Season 5 just came out. I'm on episode 3 right now. So that's how I've been ending my nights this week. Get all my work done, get my food ate, and then watch an episode before I go to bed. So going to eat my dinner, finish up a little bit more work, and then go make my smoothie. So I'll check in with you to show you what I do for my smoothie. All right, so just gonna show you guys what I do for a protein smoothie. This will be the last thing I have tonight. I already put in some milk, what little I had left over. There's barely any in there. I am out of protein powder, and this is the brand that I have been using here recently, is the Jocko brand, and they have these pre-made ones now that you can get at like Publix and Kroger. So I'll throw one of those in. It's banana flavored. I'm gonna do a serving of peanut butter. I'm gonna do 1 banana, and then I'm also gonna do a Greek yogurt. So I'll add a yogurt. So I'll get like 50 grams, 55, 60 grams, come on, of protein. So I'll add all that all that to the smoothie, and then I'll add some creatine as well. And that will be the last meal that I have today. Again, today was a rest day. I did not work out, so what I am gonna do is show you yesterday's workout. So it being Wednesday, this would have been what I did yesterday on Tuesday, just one of the pieces that I did, a sandbag and muscle up piece that I really enjoyed. So gonna have this protein shake and then call it a night. Brings me to the end of the video. I hope you guys, again, I'll put all the macros, all the calories and stuff that I had today in the top right, left or right corner. Show you the macros that I had, all the calories. And then if you guys need nutrition help, if you need advice or guidance on where to start with how to track macros, you can message me on Instagram. I would love to help you. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.